there, lovely listeners, and welcome to our first episode of Reasons to Care, the podcast all about heartwarming stories and making a difference with diverse abilities, Dorset's disability charity. I'm Claire, one of the managers in our children's team.
And I'm Michelle, a deputy manager in supported living. We're super excited to introduce ourselves in this episode, and we're hoping that we can redefine what it means to be a carer, because at Diverse Abilities, we're supporting children and adults with physical and learning disabilities every day. And don't forget, you can check out our career vacancies online anytime at diverseabilities.org.uk/careers.
In this episode, well, it's really all about us. Get to know us, how we got into our roles, and what it means to us, and of course, a few anecdotes along the way.
You'll hear from all sorts of people in different roles throughout this series. But shall we get started?
Yes. So I think the best place to start today will be to give you a background and some information about the charity. So Diverse Abilities is Dorset's disability charity. We support children and adults across the whole of Dorset with disabilities, and we've done so for almost the past 70 years.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's incredible, isn't it?
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, we have a school which is called Langside School that supports children with profound and multiple learning disabilities. We've got the children's team, and they have got Lily's Place, which is a respite short break bungalow for children with disabilities. We also have Shapes, which is a domiciliary service, Transition, which has a day service and an overnight respite bungalow called Lawford Lodge. We also have our short breaks team, which is made up of Coping with Chaos, Project My Time, Awesome Nights, Family Support, and STARS, which is our sibling support service. All of these services are for families with children with disabilities and across the whole of Dorset. Michelle, do you want to tell us about your adult services?
Yeah, so according, from that and the vast things that you do over in children's, obviously there's adult services. So we have supported living. So we have 19 homes across Bournemouth and Poole. And we have 1, 2 or 3 individuals that live in a home together. And then we also have the Beehive Day Centre, where we have around 50 adults who have a learning disability that attend the day centre Monday to Friday. Alongside that, we've also got the advice team. So I know probably for children that comes in very handy. I know for adults, it's where families can phone in and get advice on deputyship, anything to do with somebody supported.
So I guess alongside that as well, we need to talk about our central services team. So we obviously have a team of HR, marketing, social media, finance. Who else have we got? Fundraising. Can't forget the fundraising team.
No, definitely not. We couldn't do it without them, could we, really?
No, we absolutely couldn't. So yeah, although I always think we're quite a small charity, actually, for people listening, I guess you're probably thinking, wow, it's a massive charity. Because we do a lot with with what we've got.
We do. And actually, for me working in adults, I don't really see, as you don't see, I don't see the children's side of it. So I'm really excited by the podcast to understand children's more.
Absolutely. Same for us, as we're kind of working our own little children's team bubble. So I think this will be really good for us to hear more about what you do in adult services and to have an understanding about what goes on day to day.
Yeah, 100%.
So I suppose we ought to introduce ourselves a little bit more, tell our lovely listeners about who we are and how we ended up at Diverse Abilities. So Michelle, do you want to tell us, how did you get involved at Diverse Abilities and what inspired you?
My word. So I'm nowhere near what we term as a lifer, but I've been with the company for about 5.5 years. And I have always worked in care from a young age. So I originally wanted to be a chef, went from my work experience to a respite centre for children with learning disabilities. And at the time, I was chefing. That was what I wanted to do. And started working with the children and loved it, absolutely loved it. And so I went down the career path of going to college and bits like that. and sort of done various bits of care from domiciliary to working with adults who have autism in a supported living setting and in a sort of school setting. And I had my daughter was working as a Senko in a nursery, and my friend was working for Diverse Abilities. She was working in supported living, and she was texting, she was doing these amazing things. You know, I'm off to a concert, I'm going here. And I remember the days prior to me having my daughter where I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I'd always wanted to work in a day centre. And I was getting a bit frustrated as a Senko, and I was like, oh, and I looked on Indeed, as we all do these days, and there was a senior support worker for Diverse Abilities, and I was like, I applied, got the position, and from that it's evolved. I loved working in our day centre. It was so happy every day going in, and then obviously COVID hit us, and we adapted, like I think all the services had to adapt at that time. And I had to probably do more office-based stuff at that point. And the registered manager sort of said, you know, we've got this coordinator position in supported living. And I'd always been intrigued by supported living. I was a bit like, oh, maybe. And I said, well, I'm happy where I am. But I went for the interview, got the job, and I said, oh, I'll go as a 6-month secondment. Like that is what I'll go. I'll go over to help because, you know, they've been let down. And sort of 3.5 years later, I've not gone back. Yeah. And so now it started as a coordinator for supported living. So I had 2 services, and I kind of overseen the recruitment side, the training, and sort of all our zeros, doing sort of one-to-one line management with them at the time. And then very quickly they said, oh, actually, we need an acting deputy. Is that something? And I, again, had never in my wildest dreams thought I would be deputy. I said, oh, it's only acting. I'll go back to it. And here we are again. I'm now deputy manager currently of 6 of our services. And there's another deputy in the office. And then we have 2 registered managers as well.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You've been caught up, line and sinker.
100%. And for me, I'd never, ever been in a job sort of more than 3-4 years. I would then get that kind of like...
Yeah.
But with Diverse, I think we are really lucky with the people that we support. They definitely get you. And it's why I've been so... Well, you know... It's home, yeah, definitely. It is home. Yeah. They do become part of your life, 100%. Absolutely. So, yeah. How about yourself, Claire? Because you're obviously a lot longer than myself.
Yep, so I've been at Diverse Abilities almost 11 years now I'm coming up for. So, my longest job, not quite, but almost my longest job. And I think I might be here to stay, unless it obviously decide to get rid of me. But I think I'm here to stay.
And so, what was it then? Because you say this is not your longest job.
No. So I guess for me, I probably need to go back quite a few years. Almost 40 years before even really my working life started. So I've got a sister who has a disability. So I've grown up in a family with a child with a disability, and I've seen the difference that services make. I suppose I've not just seen it, but I felt it. And my mum always made me really aware of how lucky we were. She would always say to me, oh, we're very lucky because Anna has been to respite, and that means that I've been able to take you to a concert. Or you're really lucky we've been on holiday because Anna's been in respite. So I was always very acutely aware from a really young age of actually we were really lucky, and we really valued all of the services around us because it meant that we could continue living our lives. So I guess it's kind of all I'd ever really known. I went to college and did childcare because I kind of thought I might be a teacher, but I had to go had to go with some work experience and was like, nah, that's not for me. I left college and went to a nursery and I was like, this is definitely not for me. I'd always had my heart set on being a family support worker in like a children's centre or something. It was where I thought I wanted to be, but I needed experience. Every time I tried to apply for a job, I was told, no, you need experience. And then a job came up at the place where my sister used to go for respite. And I thought, well, I know it. It's, I grew up there. I've grown up running around the halls and everything. So I was like, it just made absolute sense that that's what I was going to do. So I worked there for 10 years.
Wow.
And I loved it. It fitted in when I had my children. It fitted in with looking after my kids, doing shifts and everything else. And I just loved being part of a team and, getting these young people that we were looking after to have some amazing experiences and make the best memories. Sadly, that place closed down and I felt I needed to stay in the NHS. So I took another job working in perinatal mental health. So I was looking after mums with mental health problems and their babies. And I did it for about 3 years and it just wasn't for me. But I'd kind of just thought, well, I've got to just stay in the NHS now, haven't I? This is it. I've done 13 years. I need to stay. And a chance meeting with a friend who worked for Diverse Abilities. And she was like, you have to come to Smithers, which is now known as Lily's Place. And I was like, I'm not really sure. But I went to look round and I was like, actually, maybe this is what I need. I was so unhappy. It wasn't that I didn't like my job, but it was a very emotional job. It took a lot out of me. It was quite difficult. And I just need to be happy. Yeah. So applied for a job as a lead support at Lily's Place, got the job and started, and almost instantly I remember the team saying I'd only been there like 3 weeks and they were like, you've been here forever. And I was like, it's literally only been 3 weeks. It just, I don't know what it was. It was just a place for me. I fitted into the team and yeah, I was just like, this is exactly what I was meant to be doing. So I think, yeah, over the next 11 years, I've had various different roles within the organisation, much like yourself. I've taken a step up here and covered some maternity leave and then not really stepped back down, moved on somewhere else until 6 years ago when I took over Coping with Chaos. So I was already sort of managing Project My Time, and then Coping with Chaos was put under my sort of guidance as well. So now sort of manage short breaks within Diverse Abilities. And yeah, I just feel really incredibly lucky to be in the position we're in. But I also feel that Diverse Abilities really has supported me. So like I've had all these weird and wonderful ideas. Well, I suppose they're not weird and wonderful, but I have a new idea for a service and it's like, I really want to do a sibling support group. And the fundraising team have got behind me and the grants and trust team have got behind me. They've gone out and found the money so that I can start new services. And, I've always wanted to have a new building and now we're currently on the road to having a new building. And so I feel like really lucky that not only am I doing a job I love, but I'm doing it for a company that listens to me and values me and will allow me to grow and develop as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's the one thing I think I see like at recruitment is, it's a company that if you are true and on with them, you can grow in the company, and if they see potential,
absolutely,
they will encourage. Which
I feel like a person. Yeah. So when I worked for the NHS, or towards the end of my time there, I felt like a number. I was just a payroll number. I didn't feel like I was me. Yeah. Whereas I feel here at Diverse Abilities, I'm seen. Yeah. For me, I'm Claire. This is, my background. This is why I'm so passionate about things and stuff. And so for me, that's really important because I don't want to be a number. No. I want to feel valued.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And do you think, like going back to when your mum sort of instilled that this is really important, do you think like when you're thinking of new services, you've always kind of got Anna in your head?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the reasons why I was so passionate about starting the sibling service is there was nothing around like that when I was a child. And I did struggle growing up. I've never, it's never been a secret. It was hard work living, in a family with a child with a disability. And a social worker at the time said to me, I think you really need to go to young carers. And I said, but why? Because I'm not a carer. Because in my head, I wasn't a carer. I was, but I didn't feel like I was. That wasn't my label. I'd labelled myself as a sibling. And I think the support we're able to give our siblings is so valuable to know that you're not alone, and to know that there is somebody that will listen, and somebody who, you know, can give you time. That's all I ever wanted, was just a bit of one-on-one time with an adult who would sit and listen to me and spend time with me. I really craved that, and I think that's what we're able to offer our siblings. So absolutely 100%, I think my childhood and what I went through absolutely shapes what I do now and how I work and the services that I deliver, because I know growing up without all of the support we did have, we wouldn't have got through it. We wouldn't have come out the other side, such a tight-knit family that we are. That's definitely drives the work that I do, 100%.
I can imagine, definitely.
So obviously, Michelle, the reason that we are doing these podcasts is because we feel that it's really important to redefine what it means to be a carer, and for people to understand that we're not just carers.
100%.
There's so much more to it than that. So what's your hope for the impact of this podcast?
I mean, I'm hoping it's going to do magical things, and it's just going to give somebody, firstly, an insight into what it is actually like. And, you know, having the various people that we're going to have coming on the show is going to be able to have that insight. And also just to break down some of the myths and the barriers that there is there in care. You know, it is more than just the personal care that we have to do, or the, you know, assisting somebody to medication. There, you know, the highs, and there is so many highs.
Absolutely.
Within the job. And hopefully one of you lovely listeners will think, I want to be part of this amazing charity.
Absolutely.
And we will embrace that. I think for me, that's definitely the biggest. What about yourself?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I think for me, when I was approached to be asked would I get involved in this, for years we've been sort of saying there's a crisis in care. And there really is.
Yeah.
There's, I think since COVID, it's been highlighted, but there's a crisis in care, and that crisis is the recruitment of carers, isn't it? We see that all the time. And I think it's really important that people don't just see that we bath people, dress people, feed people. It's not just that. Yes, those things are really important, what we do, but actually it's the difference that we make.
Yeah.
That's what's important. And I think it's really hard to put that across into a job advert. You can't see that in a picture.
No.
You can't, you know, that can't be captured. Whereas I felt that these conversations will hopefully really capture the important work that carers do and how valued we feel as carers and how much we value carers. So I think hopefully all that will be captured. And like you say, hopefully one of our lovely listeners will think, do you know what? I want to make a difference. I want to step up and I want to help change someone's life and make their day better. So I really hope that this podcast will be able to do that, change that perception of care, and hopefully start turning the tide on that crisis that recruitment has with carers.
One of the things I think that diverse abilities do better than any charity or any care company out there is person-centred care. Is about taking that individual and making life about them. And that actually is a skill, because I think sometimes life can be too busy and you're like, you've got to get to this appointment, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. But actually taking a step back and allowing that person to be in control of their own life. Yeah. It sounds so simple now, but actually in practice...
Takes planning.
It does take planning. It takes a lot of planning. And it is it's a unique opportunity to be that part of somebody's life.
And I think those stories, as we hear from the people that we're going to be interviewing and as we go through our happy jar notes, those stories will hopefully really come across to our listeners.
100%.
So I guess we need to talk about what's coming up on the series. So we have got a few different episodes. We've got The Power of Compassion, tales from someone who's worked with us for over 20 years. We're going to hear from parents and companies we work with and organisations that have a similar approach to life as us.
It's really exciting. I mean, I'm excited for all of the episodes. For me, the Lifer episode, because I haven't spent much time with Anya, and I know you know her very well from children's.
Yeah.
But just even having the parents and having their view on what it is like to have a service. I
think that's going to be a really emotional one for us all, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think when we do our jobs, I certainly never see that I'm doing my job. I just do what I do because that's what I do. I just want to make everybody's day a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily see it as a job, but I think hearing from a flip side from a parent of the difference that makes to them, I think that will be really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, pretty emotional. I can imagine. Every episode as well, we're going to be myth busting as well, which I kind of think is, again, another reason why we want to do the podcast. We will share a myth and sort of bash it out as it was and
try and bust it.
Yeah, definitely bust it.
So over the last however many years, we've been building up a bank of memories. So we're going to be sharing one of those with you each episode.
We'd also like you to get involved as well. So if you have any happy notes, you work for diverse abilities or just anything general in care, then please see us on Facebook or on Instagram.
So, Michelle, before we go on to sharing our notes from our happy jar, have you got any, what's your favourite memory?
There's quite a few memories, to be fair. I think for me, one of the most exciting was when I started with the Beehive. And I've got two there, but the transition. So the Beehive had a big renovation, sort of seeing from what it was to what it is now. We've got a sensory room that's interactive, or they have a sensory room now that's interactive, and lots of facilities that just enable the people's lives a little bit more, and that was really exciting to be a part of. And then the other one that really sticks in supported living is I was with a bank of people. I was able to contact the Red Arrows to have a very special visit with a very special man who sadly has passed away now. But that sticks out very at the top of my list.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's really special.
And just shows how much, I had tried, but I couldn't do it on my own. I needed fundraising. I needed
a team
around us to make it happen. And being in that room when they all came in and that
will stay with you forever.
Yeah, 100%. And to be able to assist the families with that as well. They were absolute, and still talk about it when I go round and see them. So, yeah, definitely.
Lovely.
What about yourself? What is...
I've got so many, but just thinking about it, I think one of my favourite memories is when I started working at Lily's Place. There was a young man there who was particularly challenging, but I don't know why, but me and him just clicked.
You do, don't you?
Yeah, don't know why, but we just clicked, and he had very, very limited speech.
Okay.
But I thought, I'm going to teach him to say my name. And I taught him to say my name, and then was like, there were times at like 1 o'clock in the morning when he was stood outside of my sleeping room going, Claire, 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 Claire. I was like, why did I do it? But then I was like, but it's so amazing that he could say my name. But honestly, whenever he saw me, he would just constantly be like, Claire, 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 because he was so pleased to see me. And I was just so immensely proud of him that he'd learnt to say my name, and he'd not really, the only other sort of thing he said was Bob and, a very few other words. So yeah, for him to be able to learn to say my name and then use it all times of the day and night was just, absolutely amazing and lovely to know that I'd kind of made that difference.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
Just keep reminding yourself at 1 a.m. in the morning. I can imagine. So diving into the jar.
Yeah.
Claire, what is your note?
So I have got about 2 young men moving into their man cave, which was amazing, and their lives improved so much. So I think we'll probably hear more about this in our episode next time with Emma, as she was instrumental, I guess, in enabling that to happen. But what do you know about that, Michelle?
I think she will sort of say that she was one of the first for the supported living and moving into what was known as the man cave. But how amazing, like to have that, to have that vision and then have somebody support your vision and make it happen.
I think like it's not just, it was obviously very important for those young men, like really important, but so visionary in the delivery of care because, you know, up until that point, care had been delivered in care homes. Yeah. There'd been almost old institutions. And how amazing to be part of a journey to change something so massive into this is how we used to deliver care, but this is now that new model. And I think what an amazing experience.
Choice, isn't it, all over? Like when you were in those institutions, it was almost taken away because it was too large. But then to come from that to this is your life, this is your choice. How can we make it happen for you? Is something I think like diverse champions across all of our services.
Absolutely. So what have you got, Michelle?
Oh, so I've got visiting a recording studio. It's very apt, actually. This boy loves buttons and switches. He didn't want to sing, but he was allowed to sit in the mixing room and cue us in. His mum said he listened to the CD all the way home. This is definitely from your side.
It is, and I was actually there that day.
Were you? Oh, tell us.
Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. So we took a group of young people to an actual recording studio, and we were put in a room and we all had headphones, microphones, and we all had to sing these songs. It was brilliant. But we had one young man and he just would not engage in singing. He didn't want to do it. And that's fine. We're very much, if you don't want to do it, that's okay. How else can we get you to interact with the session? And the guy that was recording us and doing all the mixing on the mixing desk was like, does he want to come and sit through with me? So I was like, oh, would you like to go and sit through there? And knowing full well he loves a button. So I was like, don't touch anything, you're not allowed. So the man was like, right, you can press this button and this button. So one button allowed his microphone to turn on. So we were all in the recording studio behind the glass, and then he presses the button and he's like, everyone, are you ready? And we were like, yeah. And he was like, 3, 2, 1. And then he got to press the record button.
Oh, bless him.
And his little face, I remember stood there, I was meant to be singing, and I remember stood there looking through thinking, wow, we've done this. What, he's never going to get to do that. When is a child ever going to get to go to a recording studio and, you know, press those buttons and cue people in? And then he was like, that song's finished now. Would you like to practice the next one? And he was proper literally like leading us through this recording. And I just thought, what an amazing opportunity that he's had. So at the end of the session, all the young people were given a CD of the songs we'd recorded.
I'm kind of intrigued. Sorry, what sort of songs were you
so
recording?
We did like High School Musical. We're all in this together.
Nice.
George Ezra. I can't remember the other ones. Like poppy type songs. Yeah. Oh, we did The Greatest Showman. Obviously, we did The Greatest Showman. So all the young people got to put their like vote in for what songs they wanted to record.
Lovely.
But it was just such an amazing experience. I just felt so like incredibly grateful that we were given the opportunity to give that to the young people. So the next day we had an email from his mum, and she said he'd listened to the CD all the way home in the car because he'd been like so proud, I guess, that he'd been part of that.
Yeah, part of it.
And I just think like how lucky are we? How lucky are we that we get to give these opportunities to these young people? And for him, that would have, you know, that would have been like the best day ever.
Yeah. And potentially could have, if he was singing, he might not have wanted to do that, but you managed to move the direction of it for him and make it an amazing day.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I'm a bit glad I wasn't a part of it. Not that you'd want to hear my singing.
Well, I had to sing quietly because no one wants to hear my singing either. There we have it. That's our stories. Thank you so much for joining us on our very first episode of Reasons to Care, the podcast from Diversabilities, Dorset's disability charity, all about what it means to work in care.
We'll be back with you again soon, so make sure you subscribe for updates. But in the meantime, don't forget to follow Diversabilities on social media, check out our vacancies at diversabilities.org.uk/careers, and we'd love it if you could leave a review if you've enjoyed this episode. Speak soon.
Bye.